Hello again and welcome back to the Fatfish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and in this video I want to talk a bit about scale boxes. Scale box being the idea of defining an area on the fingerboard where we find the notes of a particular scale, and draw it in a diagram form, something that looks a bit like this. So that's the shape of a major scale. That's usually the first scale shape that I teach to students, and it's quite an efficient way of learning the scale in terms of how you play it, because you're keeping one finger per fret, and the root note is on the bottom E string, and it's quite low down in the box. So if I play it like a C major scale, so use that shape, starting with the root note as a C, the 8th fret on the bottom E string. So that's nice and efficient in terms of finger movement, because each finger, like I say, is in its own like designated fret. And we can come up with other scale boxes for other scales, so something like a natural minor. There's a similar sort of thing. Probably the first natural minor box I would teach anybody is the one that looks like this. And we're starting with the root note on the bottom E string with the first finger, so it's the lowest note in the box. Again, that's quite efficient in terms of finger movement. A little bit of a stretch on the 4th string. Between the 1st and the 2nd degree, you have to extend the pinky finger a little bit. But generally, it's quite efficient in terms of finger movement. However, scale boxes like that have a bit of a problem in that you don't have the same number of notes on each string. Generally, that box is okay, but on the 3rd string, we're only playing 2 notes. Why is that an issue? Well, like I said, it's efficient in terms of finger movement, because you're kind of keeping each finger in its own designated fret. You're not having to move around the neck too much. But in terms of picking, it's a little bit awkward, particularly if you're playing strict alternate down, up type picking patterns, because you just kind of lose the flow as you go from 3 notes per string, 3 notes per string, 3 notes per string, 2 notes per string, and then back to 3 notes per string. It's a bit weird if you lose the flow. And at lower speeds, maybe not so much of a problem, but if you really want to get into a very fast, shreddy type of playing, having an equal number of notes on each string is really, really useful. So that's where it's helpful to look at those scale boxes and find other ways to play them. Fatfish is a really useful tool for this. You can bring up a scale that you want. It shows you where the notes of the scale are right the way across the fingerboard. And there's a feature in it where you can hide notes on the fingerboard or show notes on the fingerboard. So you can just kind of display the notes that you're interested in. You can define your own scale boxes, look at those, and then use those as the basis for your practice. So if we bring up Fatfish, dial in a natural minor scale, let's use A as the root note. There's A natural minor, and just hide a few notes, and this is the box that we were working with. Like I say, a little bit inefficient because of that 2 notes per string on the 3rd string. So what can we do? Well, we can look for, well, what's the 3rd note on that 3rd string going to be? Well, it's going to be the 5th degree of the scale. So instead of playing the note at the 5th fret on the 2nd string, we can play this same note at the 9th fret on the 3rd string. Take that note away on the 2nd string. Now we're left with 2 notes there. So again, we'll do something similar. We'd find the next note up in the scale, play that. It's going to be at the 10th fret on the 2nd string. So we don't play the note at the 5th fret on the top string. And then we've got 2 notes at the 2nd and 3rd degree there at the 7th and 8th fret. And we want a 3rd note, so we can play the 10th fret there and get a scale box that looks like this. A little less efficient in terms of finger movement because you're having to move diagonally across the neck slightly, but much more efficient in terms of picking because we're playing the same number of notes on each string. So we can have a nice strict down up picking pattern, and it just flows nice and smoothly. See what I mean? And you can do this with basically any scale box. The scale boxes that I tend to teach people first generally are the ones with minimal finger movement. Try and keep it 1 finger per fret, and generally with the lowest note being the root of the scale, or trying to keep the lowest note as the root of the scale. But obviously you can move scale boxes around the neck because the notes of the scale can repeat themselves all over. So I could play the A natural minor, like the scale box I was using before, or there is a shape up here where I'm actually starting on the 4th degree of the scale. that's usually the first shape that I would teach somebody for that particular position of the scale. But again, it's not very efficient because we've only got 2 notes on the 5th string. We'd probably move it around a little bit and define a box that looks more like this. So a number of different ways of playing any given scale using different box shapes for where you want to be on the neck. I mean, if you think about chords, I could teach you a chord like, say, G major. I could teach you a G major chord that looks like that. But there's also the G major chord that looks like that. But you could also play a G major chord like that, or that one, or that one. Yeah, there's lots of different shapes for chords, same notes arranged in different order across the neck, and so it is with scale boxes. Thing to be careful of with scale boxes though is not to get locked into them. If you're playing, say, like the example we had before, an A natural minor, say you're coming to play solo or you're going to improvise in the key of A minor, you could just start off using that scale box and play, basically around the 5th fret. But don't get locked into that. If you're aware that there's other boxes for that scale elsewhere on the neck, you can move around them, and you can go up the neck, get higher notes, go down the neck, get lower notes, and just makes your soloing more interesting rather than just getting stuck in that one box. I could play something like this. Yeah, it's a really simple example there, but moving through different scale boxes because the notes of that natural minor scale occur all over the fingerboard. So scale boxes are useful, and ultimately you should be able to just think freely and just move anywhere on the fingerboard. But there's always going to be a relationship between the notes that you're playing, and they'll kind of fall into one box or another. So by learning scale boxes and being able to transition between different scale boxes, different shapes for the same scale at different parts of the neck, it helps you to explore the fingerboard, find different notes to include in your solos, make it interesting rather than just being stuck in one place. And by having that box, it gives you a frame of reference. And it's really, really useful for if you're soloing and you're starting to worry that you're kind of getting lost. Having a box is kind of like a safe space that you can just go back to and play it in that one box and kind of reorientate yourself rather than just getting stuck in the middle of a solo and freezing and, oh no, where do I go from here? You get yourself back to somewhere familiar, and then you can play using that one box. Like I say, it's a bit of like a safe space, reorientate yourself and then move on and take the solo somewhere else. So people will often talk about scale boxes as, you don't get stuck in the box. If you just get stuck in using scale boxes, you can't be creative. You can, but you need to understand how to use them. It's about knowing that there's more than one box for a given scale, finding other shapes for them, and being able to transition between them and really explore the fingerboard. And as I said, Fatfish is a really useful tool for showing you where the notes of different scales are on the fingerboard and being able to devise scale boxes, highlight where those notes are, and use those as the basis for your practice. And of course you can get Fatfish to play the scale for you at different speeds, so you can play along and come up with different like patterns that you can use just to help you as part of your daily practice routine to get more familiar with those boxes. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. If you did, please click like down there, and if you really enjoyed it and you want to see other videos that I post on the channel, then please click subscribe, which is also down there, and click the bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload any new content onto the channel. You're welcome to leave a comment, but I don't always get notified by YouTube when people leave comments on videos. So if there's something specific you want to ask me, whether it's about scales and music theory, guitar playing, guitar equipment, anything at all, you're better off going here, fill that form in. That way the question comes direct to me. I'm guaranteed to see it, and I can get around to answering your question in a future video. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.